Hey, good morning. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here with the sixth major cause of fear. And I was going to be all dramatic and dress in black and black out my eyes and put on a big cape and have a big Grim Reaper type thing. I was going to stick behind me, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that because that plays into this fear. The sixth major fear is the fear of death, of course, and it is incredibly common. Not so common nowadays as it was back in the Dark Ages and at other times where religious fanaticism and religion and charlatans played upon this fear and would do anything to build it up and make people more afraid of death. And the fact is, I actually have had experience with death. And so it's definitely changed my outlook and my thoughts about this fear. For some reason, I was and never have been afraid of dying. I don't know why, but I've never been afraid of it. And I think that prepared me for my personal experience. I had a sudden cardiac arrest several years ago and died and was luckily resuscitated and in a coma and frozen and all these things that would help preserve my brain. But because of that experience, I have personal knowledge and understanding of things that other people don't. And I'm not alone in this. Hundreds of thousands of people have had near-death experiences, and each of our experiences is different. You can read books on it, you can study it, you can go online and find out what other people's experiences are. But what I know for sure, my understanding of death now is that it is indeed just a transition, and it's based on the individual. What the individual expects and needs will be how that transition is for you, or for them, or for me. What Napoleon Hill has to say about death and the fear of death, again, he blames it a lot on religion, organized religion, people trying, and mankind trying to take advantage of other people for greed or whatever other purposes they have, but not necessarily for the good of mankind, but for themselves, and building on people's fear and doubts and worries about what comes after this life. You know, the truth is nobody knows, and although there are some people, I guess, that have been and are still here, it's still, I believe, different for each individual. So nobody knows what you can expect. My mom and I had a heated conversation about heaven and hell, and she's very religious, and I respect her beliefs. I do not choose to have the same beliefs. So her experience when she does pass away in transition will most likely be very different than mine and anyone else's. And that's how it's meant to be. So Napoleon says, the fear itself of death is useless. And I agree with him. I mean, what is the point of being afraid of dying? It's inevitable. We are all going to die. We are all going to transition. Nobody gets out of life alive. It's just the way it is. I have to get rid of it, my friend. So death will come no matter what anyone may think about it. Accept it as a necessity and pass the thought out of your mind. It must be a necessity or it would not come at all. Perhaps it is not as bad as it has been pictured. So the old fire and brimstone and going to hell and being burned up forever by the devil and whatever else that religion teaches or whatever your religion might teach, maybe it's more of a lesson to remind us to be the best person that we can be while we're here on the planet and to make the world a better place for us having been here, more than it is a true what's going to happen when you transition. The entire world is made up of only two things, energy and matter, and we know this. Energy and matter make up everything in the universe, and neither can be created or destroyed. They only can be transformed to some other thing or some other form. We, human beings, and our lives are energy and matter, and therefore we cannot be created or destroyed. We can only be transformed. Therefore, death is truly a transition. It's a transition from one state of being to another state of being. Right now, we are in the human state of being, and we're living this life to the best of our ability, hopefully. At least that's what I'm trying to do, and I hope you are too. But inevitably, this body is going to wear out, and I am going to no longer be on the planet. I tried to convince my children that I want to be made into diamonds, but that's still in debate mode. So So again, life is energy if it's anything. And since energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only be transformed. Therefore, death is just a change of state, a change of transition. So what are some of the symptoms of the fear of death? Are you afraid of dying? Generally, the fear of dying stems from the fear of illness or of ill health, the fear of poverty, the fear that when you pass away, you're going to leave your family in poverty or unprotected. But what are some of the symptoms, the general symptoms? The habit of thinking about dying instead of making the most of life is one of the major symptoms of the fear of death. Due generally to lack of purpose, lack of a suitable occupation. This fear is more prevalent among the aged, but sometimes the more youthful are victims of it. I think we're seeing this in younger people in terms of the increase in depression, the increase in the loss of hope or not having belief or faith in their future. The greatest of all remedies for the fear of death is a burning desire for achievement backed by useful service to others. A busy person seldom has time to think about dying. He finds life too thrilling to worry about death. Sometimes the fear of death is closely associated with the fear of poverty, which one's death would leave loved ones poverty-stricken. In other cases, the fear of death is caused by illness and the consequent breaking down of physical body resistance. The commonest cause of the fear of death are ill health, poverty, lack of appropriate occupation, disappointment over love, insanity, and religious fanaticism. So that's it, fear of death. Do you see yourself in any of these symptoms? Are you afraid of dying? I mean, be honest. And if you are, it's time to explore that fear, try to find out where it comes from, because it might be one of those thoughts and beliefs and fears that really doesn't even belong to you. Maybe it's from people around you who are getting that vibration or that energy of the fear of death. If you live with someone who is depressed or old or sick or ill, or if you're caring for people that are in that condition, you may be actually picking up that energy and that fear of dying from people around you. So look at your current situation, figure out what it is, and then decide, you know what? Death, not going to worry about it. It's going to come when it comes. And that's, I think, the other reason that people are afraid of it, and afraid to really live, is that there's this unknown. We never know when we're going to die. But that also makes life really exciting and valuable, and it makes us want to seize the moment and live in the moment and enjoy every day that we are here. So go out. That is our final major fear. Again, we talked about poverty. We talked about the fear of poverty. We talked about the fear of criticism from other people or being judged by other people. We talked about the fear of ill health. We talked about the fear of loss of love. We talked about the fear of old age. And today we talked about the fear of death. Again, if you are having a hard time acting or moving forward in your life, it's probably because one of these or more fears are acting in your life. And it may be at the subconscious level. So do some soul searching, even if it's just sitting quietly for 5 minutes a day and asking yourself, are any of these fears acting upon my life right now? And if so, what should I do about it? And then just wait and listen for the answer. And you'll know exactly what to do. We always know exactly what to do, even though one of our favorite things to say and do is act like we don't know and say that we don't know what to do. But we always, always know. So do what you know is right for you. Go out and make it an awesome day and be fearless. Bye.